Often when people think of Nietzsche, they imagine something like this.
You think anyone but me could do that ever in a billion years? Do you think if God existed, he could do it? The answer is no. If God exists, it's f***ing me.
But instead, he was a bit more like this. So it is essential you start with an introductory book so you get a better idea of the man and his works, especially since many people, including his own sister, use his works to promote their own agenda. The best introductory book, I think, would be Introducing Nietzsche, a graphic guide. It is a fun read, it has comics, and it's a great place if you're just starting out. It touches upon almost all his works, and the comics are quite funny. It also gives you a background, which is essential as it helps you understand the man, the time period he lived in, and the ideas he was influenced by. There is also Nietzsche, a very short introduction, if you want an introduction that's a bit more detailed. Another good one is the Cambridge Companion to Nietzsche. Just reading the graphic guide is good enough for an introduction, but if you're interested in a detailed background, I would recommend the last two. Next, I would recommend reading Twilight of the Idols. This is a relatively short book with somewhere around 100 pages. The whole title actually reads Twilight of the Idols, Philosophizing with a Hammer. Whenever people imagine this, they paint Nietzsche running around, smashing idols with a huge hammer. But Nietzsche actually wants you to visualize him carrying a tiny hammer, not to smash the idols but to show that they are hollow within. This book has an audiobook version freely available on YouTube, as well as a guide on YouTube that explains each chapter, each aphorism. I'll leave a link to both in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. My next recommendation would be on the Genealogy of Morality. This is a book where his famous idea of master and slave morality can be seen. Along with that, you will see him exploring the origin of morality and guilt, as well as presenting a critique of bourgeois society. There are two really good video essays by this channel known as Then and Now on YouTube. If you want a better idea of this one, you can go check that out. The next on the list is Beyond Good and Evil. This is one of his more famous works, and unfortunately the book I started reading to know Nietzsche better. Boy, was I wrong. Beyond Good and Evil is going to be a tough cookie if you don't have some background info. This book is written in aphorisms, and you might ask me, hey Shannon, what the heck is an aphorism? And that would be a perfectly valid question. Aphorisms are observations or concise statements that contain a general truth. Beyond Good and Evil is going to be slightly difficult if you don't have a guide with you. The one that I found most helpful was A Beginner's Guide to Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil by Garrett Southwell. It explains each and every aphorism in Beyond Good and Evil and is honestly amazing since most of us are not experts on Nietzsche or Germany in the 19th century. There are 3 more summaries or guide that I have added in the description in case you want to opt for something that's free. The last one on the list is Thus Spoke Zarathustra, one of Nietzsche's best works, or at least most famous. This is where his idea of the Overman, or famously known as Übermensch, is seen. It's more a philosophical fiction, the story of Zarathustra coming down the mountains and declaring the death of God. Yes, this is where the line God is dead and we have killed him shows up. And yes, I will add the link to the guides for these in the description. There are more books Nietzsche has written and they are quite important as well, like The Gay Signs, Nietzsche contra Wagner, The Birth of Tragedy, Ecce Homo, etc. But the reason I haven't mentioned those is because this list is more of an essential Nietzsche guide. You can explore his other works after reading these ones. Along with the references, I have added the free PDF of all the books mentioned above, and yes, they are legally free. Secondly, I have added numerous resources I have found so far, lectures, summaries, guides, etc. It also has 2 lectures by Walter Kaufmann, and if you don't know who he is, then he is most famously known as the person who translated Nietzsche's works, and his translation is widely accepted. Talking about translation, if you're ever planning on buying Nietzsche's books, then I recommend the ones translated by either Kaufmann or Hollingdale. The latter I believe is used by Penguin Classics.